Welcome to Dorset. Today we're at Sturminster Mill and we're here for a misty sunrise. Great to see you all again, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we're at the fantastic Sturminster Mill, and it's a beautiful place set on the Dorset Stour, and it's actually still a functioning mill that can work if it needs to, but currently it's just decommissioned. But it's a beautiful little building, and we're going to do something slightly different today. We're not going to shoot it from the usual position, which is further down on the bank looking directly across. We've actually come over to the bridge right at the head of the river, so we can get a view straight down the river, follow the curve of it round, and hopefully catch some of the mist rolling through. But that's not our main aim for today. The full aim is for the light to come up, hit the mill and hit the trees and give some of these gorgeous spring green colours some real punch. That's the plan. Well, it's been another perilously early start, 3 a.m. this morning, and sunrise is just before 5 a.m. and it's really been tough to get up and come and do these. I've had about an hour's sleep, and I still come out because I think it's really gonna, potentially offer something good this morning. Now, there's a couple of reasons that we're here. Firstly, the forecast is for completely clear skies, and for once, the weathermen, they've called it right. It is completely clear. And when it's like this, most photographers will either just say, well, I'm not going to shoot, or, go and choose a subject that doesn't really necessarily fit in. What I've decided to do today is come to a scene that doesn't actually involve any sky, so it doesn't really make any difference if it's cloudy, clear sky, whatever. It's just going to be the scene that we're shooting without it. So it's a good way to, try and get around that situation when you have got these horrible clear skies that come out from time to time. The other reason is it's one of the few areas that's forecasted for a little bit of mist this morning, and there is some rolling across the river at the moment. Now, whether it stays until sunrise, I don't know. We're about 30 minutes away from sunrise at the moment, and I really do hope it does stay. I'm going to take a few shots beforehand just in case, but the real aim for today is to not have the shot until the light is actually on the mill and on the trees as well. It's a venue that most people probably won't come and shoot at this time of year, simply because most people are after a sunrise when the sun is much further round, or indeed you can shoot it with a sunset here. But ideally for us, we want the light to be coming from the other side of the mill and cast right onto it, which is exactly what it's going to do today. So fingers crossed, conditions look all good for it. We just hope it doesn't burn this mist off before we've had a chance to nail a shot or two. We are pretty much limited to just one composition from this particular shot. There's some slight movement from left to right, but that's about it. The shot remains pretty much consistently the same all the way through, so there's not going to be that much chance of variation. But what I might do is I might go further down the bank as the sun's come up and we've nailed this shot, and see if I can get something else, maybe move on to a different lens. At the moment, I'm currently using the 100 to 400, and I'm going to be shooting around about 100, 120 mil, just to try and isolate that mill and cut out all of that skyline, because we don't want any of that in there. But as I say, when we move further down the bank, there is an opportunity to go over to the wide angle, or maybe even the 24-105, and see if we can nail a shot with that a little bit closer up. What we're shooting today is obviously the curvature of the river as it goes down all the way to the mill, and it gives us a beautiful natural lead line right the way and draws the eye straight into where you want it to look, the centre of the mill. And aligning the bank, we've got some beautiful cow parsley down here. We've got some yellow sort of plants. I don't quite know what they are, to be honest, but they're really going to add like a little extra dimension, a little tiny pop of colour in there, because the scene's going to be very dominated by the greens that we've got on the side. But I'm hoping as the sun catches on those, they're going to sort of change colours, and there's going to be a little bit of variation in tone on there, and it's really going to open the scene up. I'm just praying that this mist will last whilst the sun's coming up and catches on those trees, but it's very much touch and go at the moment. One minute there's mist rolling in, the next minute it goes completely barren and empty, but it does give us an opportunity to try something. When you've got mist going through like this, there is an opportunity to do a slightly longer exposure and just get a really smooth finish on that mist. It's not always a perfect method, but it does work quite well sometimes when you've got patchy areas of mist and it's sort of rolling through rather than being quite constant. The other thing that we might try today is another panorama. I know I'm very guilty of overdoing panoramas, but what can I say? I really enjoy them, and it's a good way to get a lot more sort of detail into that shot. If you do it as a vertical panorama, sweeping across, it will just enable you to get a lot more sort of megapixels in there. And I like to print a lot of this stuff in, you know, fairly large formats, so it really does help with that. Now, one of the things that we have to be really careful with here, it's a very awkward composition, because just to the right of the mill, you've actually got some houses in there, and I really don't want those in the shot as well. And I know there's a potential to clone them out, but I'd like to try and get it, you know, exactly as is in camera, rather than sort of losing details and messing around with it. I'd sooner get the shot as I want. So we're cropped in quite close, hence the 100 to 400 that we're using today. You can shoot this shot on something like a 24-105, and you can still zoom quite a way in, but you do run the risk of catching the houses and catching a little bit of the sky in there. Again, we might choose to sort of pull back on the frame a little bit if the sky does happen to catch a little bit of colour. It's kind of unlikely, I think, but you know, if the opportunity arises, then we'll certainly do it. But for the moment, we're going to be concentrating on a very close crop of the mill and the sweeping bend of the river, and of course this mist that's just rolling through. There is actually a weir right at the end of Sturminster Mill as well, so it's possible that we might be able to go and get something there with a slightly longer exposure as the light comes up maybe. But for the time being, this is going to be my hero shot, so I'm going to stick it out and try and nail this one. That's what I'd really like to get a good shot of. I think it's probably the best composition here, and the other shot has been done to death, so you really don't see it very often from this end. So yeah, I'd like to try and nail this one. I did shoot it last year and I got an image that I was fairly pleased with, but I would have liked a lot more sort of light coming down. But unfortunately, by the time the light had actually come down and moved down the trees, the mist had all gone. So I got what I got, and you know, hopefully there's some room for improvement on that today. But it looks good at the moment. The mist is, as I say, it's rising and falling, and it does tend to do that quite a lot here. 1 minute you can have absolutely nothing, and the next minute it's streaking across, and it can look really effective. So all to play for. We've got about 5 minutes till sunrise now, so hopefully the tips of the trees right at the back, they'll start to get a little bit of light, and we'll just see it start to work down. We need it to probably be up for about 20 minutes until it starts catching the tips of the trees that we're shooting here today. We're going to shoot on an aperture of around f16 today, and the reason we're doing that is two reasons, in fact. One, we want to get the nice foreground as it leads through, and we also want to get the mill in a nice sharp focus. But also, shooting at f16 is going to give us a slightly longer exposure, which is just going to help that mist just spread across a little bit more. We're just desperately needing that light at the moment. The shot itself looks beautiful with the mist cascading across, but the light is going to be the key factor. That's what's going to really make this shot sing. And without it, it's just not quite so good. I am going to take a few with it because obviously I don't know whether the mist is going to hang around, but you know, I really do want that light to really make this shot work. Well, the sun's up now and it's tantalisingly close. I can just see it starting to work down on the trees up here, and it should be hitting the mill in maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. We've still got a little bit of mist there. It's not a lot, but there's enough, and if it can just get that light on the mill whilst that mist there, I'm really confident we're going to nail an absolute belter. So fingers crossed. I'm going to try and play around with ratios on this one. It really suits a 16:9 crop on this particular shot, so we're going to try and do something with that. But yeah, it's looking really nice, and I'm really hopeful that it's all going to go off. The flowers just along the edge of the riverbank here have just started to catch with the light now, and it looks beautiful. The foreground's just leading in. You've got the mill itself just catching the light, and then the foreground lit up as well with a little bit of mist trailing in. Perfect. I mean, you just can't ask for better. In case you're wondering whilst you're pointing this way instead of pointing down to the mill, I'm actually stood on the bridge, and it's a very, very narrow bridge, so there's really not enough room. If I was to put the tripod facing down to Sturminster Mill, it'd be in the road and get run over, so I really can't do that. But well, the scene is just fantastic. I'll record a little bit of B-roll for you so you guys can see it, but yeah, what a beautiful morning. Well, unfortunately, that mist hasn't really held for us. We have got a little bit left, but as the lights come down, it's just burnt it off, which is, you know, pretty much what's going to happen. But I hoped it might linger a little bit longer, but all's not lost. As it's coming through on the Weirpool, it is firing up a little bit. So, you know, we might still be able to just nail something. But the light is starting to creep down those trees now, and it makes such a difference. It looks absolutely superb. I'm going to put a picture up of before the light hit as well as when the light hit, so you can kind of see the difference and get where I'm coming from with how much difference it makes just having light on that subject. And you know, what a better shot it is, in my opinion. So hopefully you'll like them. Anyway, I'll stick a couple of these shots up. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your views. Thanks ever so much. Well, once again, I think the light's beaten us today. It's a little bit too bright now. It was a mixed success today, I guess. We got the light and we got the mist. We just didn't get them quite both together at the same time, which is what I was really after. But still, I think we've got a reasonable shot out of it. And hopefully maybe it's given you a little bit of inspiration to get out there on a clear day and, you know, not to write them off. There are shots to be had, and this morning, hopefully that's proved it. I really hope you've enjoyed Sturminster Mill today. If you have, please do hit that like button and leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you're not a subscriber, please do consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.